Welcome, Kim. Thank you so much for joining us and serving the moms here. I'm so excited to interview you. And I shared about you in the welcome, but maybe you can share a little bit about how you came to know the Lord.
So, I was raised in the church as a kid, and we had the right doctrine and we went through all the motions, but it wasn't until I went to college that I really learned what it meant to make Jesus Lord and to live the life. I was at University of Florida and saw a campus ministry that was really walking as Jesus did, and became a Christian there when I was 19. So that's 40 years ago now. Wow.
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 Amazing. And our kids have been a part of camp since they were, 5 or maybe even 5 years old, I think.
Right,
and we lived out of the country, and we would plan our vacations just to be there, not just, but to be there at camp. Yeah. And I know you have had a major part in camp, so maybe you could just share a little bit about your affiliation with Camp Hope for Kids.
So camp started 25 years ago, but we had moved back from London and Birmingham and Manchester, England, to work in Philly. And I realized that the kids weren't wanting to become Christians. And I thought back on my own life and said, what really touched my heart initially as a child is I went to Michigan Christian Youth Camp with the church. And that was the only time in my life I knew what it was to be a disciple. But I wondered, could anybody ever really live that life? And I never saw anybody doing it till I went to college. But I always had that glimpse of what it meant to be a disciple every summer. So because of that, 25 years ago, we started with just 40 kids. We took them to a farm in Virginia, some of the ACR churches, and we came together. And now we have over 3,000 people each summer. And today, the whole morning I spent planning how we're going to do camp this year, both virtually and prayerfully. In August, we can all meet together. That's our prayer. But if not, we're going to have virtual camps, and we're going to do international teen camps with everybody, which is going to be so fun. Wow. So very exciting, very exciting.
I will be praying for that. I know my son is my daughter's graduating. My son it will be his senior year, and he is just praying that he can go to it. Thank you so much. I know so many of us moms are so grateful for the hard work that you do.
Thank you.
So you grew up going to church, and then you became a disciple as a college student, and you have children. Maybe you can just give their ages.
Oh, okay.
Just a little.
My son is Brandon Evans. He's married to Sarah Brush Evans. They have 2 girls. He's 35. They're disciples here in Philly. Bethany is almost 33, and she's married to Audie. They lead the youth and family ministry here, and they have 2 little boys. And then Maria, our youngest, is married to Chance Enyes. They live the very cool city life in Philly and are part of the city ministry here.
Wow. You do not look like a grandma.
I am. Gigi's my favorite name, my favorite. So.
So all of us moms just aspire to raise our children in the Lord, trusting in Him. And I know raising 3 children, you have lots of wisdom and you have many victories. I'm sure a few mistakes.
Yes, many mistakes.
So I do have some questions for you. The first one is, what does it mean for moms to build on the Word of God to you?
I was thankful to have the questions in advance so that I could think about them. And parenting and being a mom, I'll be emotional when I talk because it's my cherished memories, you'll hear. But I think of 1 Corinthians 11, where it says, follow me as I follow Christ. You are Jesus to your kids. You just have to model it, no matter what they're doing, no matter how crazy they are, no matter what goes on. If the video camera is just on you and no one can see anything else, do you look like Jesus? And whatever you do, and I think we can't blame anything on them, or we can't blame anything on our husband. I love it when I can sing "It Is Well With My Soul," that without crying, I know I'm doing well. I think of Proverbs 31, laugh at the days to come. And then ask yourselves, like, what are we teaching our kids? One of my favorite memories, we were in the UK on the mission field, and we were in Birmingham, and after church on Sunday, we would go to Pizza Hut. And our son then was young, and he'd ask the waiter every Sunday to come to church. Wow. And he would always wait for him the next Sunday. The guy said he'd come, he wouldn't come, and Brandon would wait for him. And this is when he's like 3, 4, 5 years old. And he'd wait for him, and he always thought he'd come. And a few years after we moved here to Philly, Walter went back to London, and this guy came up to him at church. And he said, "Do you know who I am?" And Walter goes, "No." He goes, "I'm the waiter at Pizza Hut, and I became a disciple." Oh. And he came home and told Brandon at 6, that this guy became a Christian, and he was so excited. But I just think we just model our life with our kids. And if you blow it, we all blow it a lot, just apologize to him. "I'm really sorry. Yes, I shouldn't have lost my temper. Can we pray? Will you forgive me?" And just model Christianity and go on.
Amen. Thank you for sharing that.
Oh, you're welcome.
And what have you learned about obeying God despite your parenting fears?
So my parenting fears, being a Christian is just not cool. And my fear is when I look at Eli in 1 Samuel 2, in verse 12, where it said his 2 sons had no regard for the Lord, but Eli loved God. Eli was a great priest, and he loves God. And I'm like, okay, I need to fear my children not loving God more than I fear anything in the world. Like, that needs to be my biggest fear. And, when you do think about 1 Corinthians 1:18, the ways of the cross are foolishness to those that are parenting. Use discipline. Like, it's not cool right now to discipline. Kids they're all over everywhere, but the Bible talks about discipline. Family time. As your kids get older, family time or family devotionals aren't cool. I still remember our kids sitting down with Walter and I, and there was a bit of a coup one night. They're like, "We don't want to do this anymore." But we have to know that, no, we're going to keep going. I sometimes would say we're plainclothes Amish people, but whatever, that's just who we are. But I still remember Bethany was probably 13 at the time. We were sitting at the traffic light out here, and she said to me, she goes, "Mom, we don't have the same things a lot of other people have, and we live in a very affluent area." But she said, "We don't have all those things," but she goes, "But I like our life the best." Mm-hmm. And I was like, okay, it's all worth it, whatever. As you battle, no, that's inappropriate to wear, or no, you're not going to wear that, or no, you can't watch that, or you can't do this, or you can't do, like, you feel like you're always saying no. But it's just that we've got to fear our children not loving God more than we fear the world and what they think of us.
Oh, great insight, great input. So this is off of that question. What do you think for us moms now? Is it any different, the temptation to want to give in, or if there was anything that you can tell us right now in regards to that, what would it be for disciple moms?
Yeah, I don't think social media is always your friend. And I am glad that I didn't have social media, because I wasn't doing what everybody else knew, but I didn't have the pressure and the freeness. So you just be careful who you listen to and who you get advice from. And if social media is turning you into somebody that you don't want to be, even the fact that advice can so easily come from Google rather than an older woman, I'm like, I would stick with spiritual guidance. Just weigh out what really helps you and what doesn't help you.
Great.
And self-care. Make sure you take care of yourself. Do whatever you need to do to take care of yourself, because if you don't take care of yourself, you cannot be who you need to be for your kids.
Man. And another question from that, is there, you don't have to tell the specifics, but was there a time when maybe you were getting a lot of pushback from one of your children or all of your children, and you thought, am I being too hard? Am I being like, is this going to, push them the other way? Did you wrestle with that and decide to be faithful anyway, and now look back and say, okay, that was the right thing? But were there times when you really just thought, I don't know, in some of these disputable matters? And how can we deal with that as moms?
So that was constant, and I had to listen to Walter, because I am just sucked into the emotion of all of it and the feelings and what do they think, and I change my mind and I am tossed every which way. But the kids knew very clearly that he led our household, and he was very helpful on keeping me grounded so that I could keep them grounded, and when need be, stepping in. So trust that the dads know. God made it. If you're not a single mom, and you have a husband, it's easy. Walter sometimes would say to me, he goes, I feel like you're their personal defense attorney. And no, I need to realize that I need that input.
That is great. Yeah, I mean, it's true, because even if you can feel like, oh, my husband is not the most spiritual, or this is right,
Right.
things that, many of us can feel or think sometimes, it's better to be righteous than right. Easier said than done, but it is righteous to submit to the Lord through your husband.
Yeah,
and you bless that. So that is super encouraging. Okay, last question. Building on the rock, the word of God, is important all the time.
Yes.
Do you think there's any implications for us right now during this COVID-19 quarantine time? Anything specific?
Yeah. Well, it's interesting because it's the exact same thing I'm working on personally right now, is what I think the answer to this question is. Romans 12:2, it says, don't conform any longer to the pattern of this world. But I just keep pondering, like, I turned 60 this year, and I'm like, okay, what are good patterns in my life right now? Like, what can I do? And there's no better time than right now to establish good patterns. I'm pathetic at taking vitamins, so I just need to do it every morning and do it at the same time. If I want to do yoga, I'm going to do it these times. I'm going to do these things. But I think as young families, as chaotic as it is right now, you can actually implement great family patterns and establish a pattern. You have enough weeks at Shelter at Home that you can make new habits and new ways, and you can change things. And in some ways, I think it's a total blessings. So it's very interesting. One of the patterns we had as a family is anytime you get in a dilemma, just pray. Like, you don't know what to do, just pray. And Maria was in college, and she was at Virginia Tech, and she was heading off to a refugee camp and to work for a Virginia Tech project. And she was leaving for, I think, 3 months. And I was staying the night with her, and she was flying out of DC. And she said to me in the morning, she was in tears, and she said, Mom, why are you and Dad letting me go? And I was crying. I'm like, I have no idea. Why are we? I don't know where we are. And it was her dream, and she's a public health worker. And but we prayed. She goes, can you pray with me before I go? Can you pray? But you want to establish patterns in your children that when they're in times of crisis throughout their time, like I was a very rebellious teen in my early time in college. I wandered, but every Sunday I remembered I need to be at church, whether I was there or not. And every time I sat down to eat, I knew I should pray, whether I prayed or not. Like, I could not get away from the patterns established in my mind as a child and how I was trained. So I think just give your children patterns, and as they wander, the patterns will be in their hearts and in their minds.
Wow, that's phenomenal. Okay, our time is up. However, let me just ask you one more thing. You shared about how your children, they've done well, and that is the dream. But then in your reply just now, you said you were rebellious and you wandered.
Yeah.
And MITS is, I don't know if you know, we have it's really for babies all the way up to preteens. But honestly, we have so many aged moms because it's just phenomenal, and people are going to be watching this. So for the moms who have maybe children who have left, who have never become Christians, or who they already see, this is tough. This one's going to be tough.
Right.
For you, someone who wandered, what advice could you give, or what did your parents, your mom, your dad establish in you that brought you back, or just any advice that you can give us moms who might freak out or not know what to do or blame themselves, or anything like that that you could share that would help?
So I think for all of us, the story's isn't over till we die. I pray for my adult children every day, because I know even for them to stay faithful, it's not over for any of us. And it isn't until we go to heaven and we face God, that's it. But for me, so for just to encourage you all, I wasn't a little rebellious, I was really rebellious. I was immoral, I would do everything out of the sun that would make is a mother's and father's nightmare. One is my mom always prayed to catch me, and God always blessed that. She caught me at everything. Don't have your head in the sand and catch your kids at everything. But as I said in the first question, no matter what, model Christianity, do what's right yourself and keep going. Like, you have to model it. You have to catch them. There has to be consequences. I love what Dobson says. He goes, yeah, leave your teenage kids alone and go down the street, park the car, and come look in the windows and see what they're doing. Like, know what you're up against. I'm all about, listening in, stalking, do whatever you have to do to know what your kids are doing. We all have a sinful nature. David, a man after God's own heart, is a murderer and an adulterer. It's none of us are above it. But it was in my heart, again, realize it was in my heart from camp what it meant to be a disciple. And I knew that was right. Even when I wasn't doing it, I knew it was right. Yeah. And so then just love them unconditionally. Have fun time with them, connect with them, have fun. Even if they're complete brats or disrespectful, decide to go out with them and not bring anything up. And no matter how much of a jerk you act, I'm going to love you anyway. And I'm going to laugh. And I'm going to laugh at the days to come, and we're going to have fun. No matter what.
Wow.
They'll come back.
Kim, thank you so much. It has been phenomenal. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for all your wisdom. I hope to see you in person, but this is awesome.
I love you.
Quarantine has allowed us to learn from you. I love you.
I love you.
And next time.
Bye-bye.
Bye.